Really nice to see green returning to the apiary. Really nice to see the greening. The smoker says it's time to get to work. There are a number of different philosophies when it comes to when to add supers to a hive. A lot of beekeepers want to see about 80% of the comb drawn out prior to adding a super. My own philosophy is a little bit different. If the queen gets crowded, then, the desire of the bees is going to change to swarming. If you're running in one deep and you're entering a honey flow, the queen can get crowded out by, basically all the cells are being filled with honey and she has no place to lay eggs. And that can trip off a scenario, which can trip off a swarm. So I would rather add them early, really early. Now, the first super that I put on, since I'm dealing with a deep and a medium on each hive, is normally a medium, which would be a honey super, but it's going to be used for brood, so there's no critical need for a queen excluder.
Oh, yes.
It appeared our packaged queens were doing very, very well, so it was time to put on a super. Although I try to visit the park once a week, that doesn't always work. I get the videos up once a week, but sometimes there can be a longer period of time between visits to our apiary.
Well, of course they're drawing out crazy comb.
As I'd mentioned in a previous video, our own bee was in the process of moving, and I had been helping her move, and it had been about 10 days since we got into the park. Okay, our packages might be doing good, but I knew there was trouble in the other hives, so I was holding my breath on that. But first we needed to go through these packages and make sure that they were stable. First one obviously was super time, and we'll see how the second package is doing now. As for the crazy comb, it is somewhat puzzling. It can occur if the frames are not spaced correctly, but I'm pretty good as far as making sure all the frames are up against each other, and that doesn't seem to be the source. I think there also might be a bit of a genetic predisposition in certain breeds of bees. One thing that I really am wondering about is plastic-based comb versus real wax comb. I hadn't done an A-B comparison, but I'd love to see whether this is something that is more common on plastic-based comb than it is on true wax comb. So now it's time to take a look at our second package, and I expect to see pretty much what I'd see on our first package. No big surprises. Our big surprises would be in the big hives, which hadn't been intended for 10 days.
Crazy comb.
Outside of the crazy comb, it certainly looked like this package was doing well. I have a philosophy on packaged bees of putting some drawn comb in there, and I think that really helps out. It gives the queen a good start. I've packaged onto blank frames in the past, and they're a little slower to start because they have to work on drawing out the wax before the queen can begin laying. This queen was able to lay as soon as she was ready.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
If you haven't already done so, you might want to go through YouTube and search for a video that shows how packages are put together before they're shipped. It's really an interesting process, and as I say, they're dumping bees from many different hives into the package and putting a queen from a queen farm in there. It almost surprises me that things turn out as well as they do with the packages.
This is our Troy hive. Now let's see what these guys are up to.
It's time for a little flashback.
This is our Troy hive, one that I believe is storming for a swarming. A few bees come, and they're on this side of the screen. They actually come through the top, and I can't figure out how to get down and in there. It's the only disadvantage I've had about these screens, although I think they eventually figure it out. I've never really run into any dead bees up there, so they're getting around to it. Lots more honey, and what looks like a torn apart queen cell. No queen in it.
Oh yeah, we were seeing trouble already, and it only got worse.
Odd for it to be up there on the honey super. Although this really does have brood in it, so can't really call it a classic honey super. And use the medium as their top box. And expect brood to be up there. 2 more that have been opened up. I think these guys did take off. I think there was a swarm on this. This has the look of a hive that recently swarmed. A week ago, Sandy called me to say there was some incredible bearding on this, but by the time I got home, there was none. Yeah, I think there was a departed swarm that day.
Often, a swarm will depart as soon as the queen cells are capped. A lot of people might think that the queen has to hatch first, but no, they'll take off once they're capped.
Nothing.
So, well, 10 days is more than enough.
But there is a lot of emerged cells. My bet is there's a virgin queen somewhere in this hive.
It's also long enough for all the capped brood to emerge.
We're going to have to come back to this one after the storms are over. And see if we don't start seeing something. Because there's no brood in this hive. We know this was a super strong early hive. And they swarmed.
Swarming is a natural thing for the bees. Beekeepers don't like it, but that's how the bees reproduce.
With the amount of super seed cells, I'm pretty sure there's a virgin in there. Can't be positive, but pretty sure. At Mesopotamia.
It was time to take a peek at our feral hive, which hopefully was doing better.
Well, the screen came off with that one. These bees just love to build cross comb.
Again, my thoughts drift to the concept of plastic comb versus real comb. And I wonder,
Look at that.
has anybody really done a study on that? I'm going to have to do a little Googling around and see.
Man, why build comb on the comb when we can just build straight comb between the combs? Why not? It's all drone comb, though.
Sadly, the only thing you can do is remove the comb and hope that they rebuild.
Crazy bees. Enough work.
Rebuild on the foundation, that is, as compared to building more crazy comb, which is what they probably will do. There was, however, some bright side to this inspection, and, well,
Nice brood.
frame after frame had a nice solid brood pattern on it, which hopefully didn't mean that they were also building up for a nice swarm. However, this feral hive seemed to have less of a genetic predisposition to that as compared to the 2 original nukes from last year.
Brood and comb. Yet they have plenty of room upstairs.
If you have been following our videos, you'll remember that last year, those 2 original nukes, every time we turned around, there was a queen issue going on. So I'm hoping that isn't the case this year, but
Cups, but nothing laid in them.
you just never know with bees, which is what makes it quite an adventure.
As I've said many times before, this was our feral hive. I got to do some serious work to this one.
It was time to cut it out. I do save the wax and render it, and it was mainly drone comb, but, you know, it's just a shame to see the wasted effort.
Something like this, you just have to take back to word go. They're not going to like it because it was a lot of work.
The fastest way to get bees a little riled up is to start ripping apart their nest, but what has to be done has to be done. And luckily, these bees were fairly gentle. I had a couple of hives that are a little bit more aggressive, and that's one of the ones that I'm going to work on next. But, you know, these guys were okay with it. Probably the award for the most aggressive hive in the apiary would have to go to the Atlantis hive, which is the hive that I was going to work on next.
Jeez
I
almighty.
can't say that they're super aggressive, but, you know, they're just a little bit more sting happy.
Beautiful work, guy, but the comb between the combs.
Gee, if only bees would do what the beekeeper wanted. Like that would actually happen in this universe. Maybe some alternative universe somewhere it does, but they want to do what they want to do.
It's just not manageable.
Of course, the bees would say, well, it's plenty manageable for us. We're just not doing what you want. Bees have been doing this for millions and millions of years. They never really designed themselves to be something that just produces honey for humans. So they're going to put comb where they want, and we can only try to nudge them.
The last thing we need to do is accidentally have a queen up here. This is the one we threw an emergency super on because they were overcrowded a bit. We are putting honey in it. This is our deep box. So if the queen is back up in here, I'm going to reverse them back again. What's this box? Oh my Lord! Oh! That is just about solid honey. This guy. None of these fell out. I'm going to reverse these guys back again. This guy's heavy too. I can barely lift this one. One of the reasons you have to remove burr comb is that when you go to put the supers together, you can end up with bees trapped between the burr comb and crushed. So, when you see it, you gotta remove it. We had capped queen cells in here. I don't think these guys have swarmed yet. But swarming is definitely what they're interested in doing. So we're going to leave these guys plenty of room.
We were about to head into about 4 or 5 days of bad weather. It's one of the reasons I decided to leave the queen cells intact. You can never perfectly be sure, whether you might have an emergency queen replacement going on. And they generally will not swarm in bad weather. They'll wait till the first nice sunny day and boom, you have a swarm. So it's going to be important in the next week to keep an eye out when the weather got better, what these guys were doing.
One thing that can cause crazy comb is irregular spacing. I'm trying to make sure these frames are spaced each time. But the idea is there should be enough room in there for them to draw a normal comb, but not enough room to draw a crazy comb. But these did not seem to be spaced odd. That also tends to be genetic variation with bees. Some like to do that, some don't. Definitely a laying queen. Definitely a desire to swarm. I don't think they have yet, judging by the numbers in there. But this is going to be a crazy season. I can see that already.